let's take a look and see what this scenario modeling thing is. Basically, it's a way to list all the things that you might be concerned about and then try to figure out which ones we have control over and which ones we don't, and how much control we have over them. And then, if we do, what control are we going to apply? What strategy would we apply? And in this case, we're going to look at it for our donor's land use as a case of scenario modeling. If you want to know about it a little bit more, you can read about it down here. But let's take a look and see the process. First, we think up key consideration. This is just an imaginative process. There's part of it comes from the things that you've generated and looked at and seen over the last week, becoming somewhat familiar with it. Obviously, if this was the main focus of your life's work, you would have more things that you can bring to bear. But it's imagine and brainstorm some scenarios that might be the outcomes. Okay, how's this project going to end up? So instead of designing to something in the future, we're going to guess at a future scenario and then find out what we can control that might make sure that we do or do not get to that point. So this is an imaginative process where we're brainstorming. Once we do that, we know that there's uncertainties. Certain things can affect this particular outcome. And we want to make a list of those uncertainties. Okay, so if there's something that we imagine, there's something that could go good or wrong, or something that's changeable that could drive us to that outcome. And of course, those drivers are the things that we probably might or might not have control over, but we have to decide. And then for each driver that we do have control over, we need a strategy. So we start off with an imagined outcome, and we end up with strategies that help us mitigate, make sure that we don't get there, or ensure that we do get there. So let's take an example so that you can see how this can look. So here are some scenarios, and remember, in this case, for this particular thing, we want to do some sort of land development project that will create sustainable low-income housing opportunities for the people in a certain area, in this case, Arden Arcade. So we've got some scenarios, and one of them, I've got some poor outcomes. I got some neutral outcomes. Some things good, some things bad, and we have some good outcomes. And I'm going to focus on one of these here. Just going to focus on this. Okay? What if we have the outcome where the target population does not participate? Okay, we want to do something for low and very low income families. And I can imagine that when we're done with all this, we don't get any low or very low income families to become part of our project. They don't participate. They don't sign up to lease or rent or buy or take care part of the program or whatever it happens to be that we've set up. So that would be a poor outcome. Our target population doesn't show up. They don't participate. And then there are other outcomes that you can see over here, right, that I've envisioned, and they're general. I'm not saying anything about how or why at this point. I'm just saying that's an outcome. The right people don't show up. I got another poor outcome that says my plan never gets started. I'm going to make that is rejected before it is started. And I haven't said who's rejecting it or why it's being rejected or anything like that. I just go that could be an outcome. I present my cool plan and it goes nowhere. Doesn't even get started. So those are two different poor outcomes because we wouldn't be meeting the goal with either one of these. And then I've got other ones that you can see over here. So now let's come over here. And now I've taken that scenario and I've got some things, some uncertainties that could affect it, that could make this come true. And one of those would be the cost of participation. I don't know what it's going to cost yet. Of course, we have maybe some control, maybe we don't have some control, and but maybe it could be that when we're all done, that cost of participation keeps our target population away. So that would be an uncertainty because I don't have a number right now. Right now, I don't have a number for what it costs to rent, lease, buy, become a club member, whatever this thing is that allows these people to participate in whatever this housing solution is that I've come up with. Another one is population access, which might be a priority or they can't get there or something like that. I listed priority here. That would be something where, they could participate, but somebody else with more money takes their spot. This would be very typical of what was happening and still does happen, unfortunately, where, okay, it's low income, but, you're the wrong color. You don't get to participate. So population access or maybe you're the wrong religion or, whatever it happened. Maybe you don't have citizenship. So population access priorities for who can access sometimes play a role. So I put priority as maybe another word, giving priority to certain populations or lowering the priority of others. But it could also just be based on money or even the ability to get there. Maybe you didn't advertise to anybody. Okay? So priority population access would be one. Transportation would be another. They don't show up because they can't get there. That would be another one. And just plain the design of the residences. If I've made these all like those bunk bed places in San Francisco, and, that's built for one certain small chunk of the populace, and we're trying to maybe get low-income families in, and you've got a community access type design that might keep a target population away. Now, could be that is the target population that you did, but so the design of the residences can create issues like that. So just in the basic design, okay? Or maybe it's way too austere. Or maybe it's way too small. Or maybe it's a 3-story walk-up and disabled people can't get there. So the design of the residences would possibly keep our target population from participating. So these are uncertain, and I don't know what these are yet. I don't know the cost. I don't know yet who will have access or not. I don't know yet what the transportation is like there. I don't know yet what the design looks like. I'm thinking of these things as being uncertain. Okay, now some of those things I might have some control over. So let's look at cost of participation. I've taken this one and I'm only looking at this box right now. Target population does not, so you can see how big this can get. Okay, we're working on getting a spreadsheet designed that would help us work with this. So you can see cost of participation is one of the uncertainties that could mean that our target population does not participate. Okay, so what are some of those uncertainties? Or what are some of the drivers of cost of participation? Well, construction costs definitely are. You know, if we use a very high construction cost design and contractor and set of materials and, you know, just methodologies, of course, the cost of participation is going to be really, really highly instrumentally driven by the construction costs. Now, is this plausible for us to control or for somebody to control? Yes, that's 100% controllable by design. We can do that, so that's 100% plausible to control. Loan costs, are, on the other hand, are partly in our capability to control, but partly not. You know, we have no control over interest rates, but we do have control over how we set up the collateral and the equitization, and you know, whether there are matching funds from groups and things like that. So loan costs and construction costs are a big part of loan costs. So yeah, we have some control over that. So I put it at 50. And then income ratio. You know, no matter what, there's got to be some income. So we've got these costs, which we do have some control over. But incomes, we don't have a lot of control. We know what the minimum is, but we don't know how many hours somebody can work and what some of the other costs that go into these ratios of costing. You know, we don't have too much control over their healthcare costs, and maybe they have to send money back to their family in another country. Maybe they have other costs that we don't know about. Maybe they have medical costs, transportation costs, family member costs. So we have some control over that because we have some control over these two things, and we have some knowledge of the income streams of our sources. Okay, and then maintenance costs. You know, if you buy into this little neighborhood or this development and the maintenance costs are $300 a month and the rental cost is $400, that's $700 a month, all of a sudden, you know, these maintenance costs become a big part of this income ratio. And many HOAs do have significant maintenance costs, there's no doubt about it. But that we have control by design over many of these maintenance costs. So I'm saying that it is plausible that we can control this. I don't know that we will, but we have the ability to do so. So plausible could be ability to. So this is just for cost of participation, and I've got a number of things that could drive the cost of participation into this red area, or that we could mitigate to make it move more toward the yellow or the green. Okay, so then on our next part, we come to our mitigation. What strategy would I use for construction costs? So you can see I've only got a small part of this analysis done, and we're going to work with a small part of it. We don't have to do this full massive thing. I'm just trying to get you into a thought process for working with this so that you understand the complexity of it and that there are important tools out there to help. But let's look at construction costs. Well, what strategy would we use to control construction costs? Well, we absolutely know that we can control the footprint, and the footprint is a big driver of the construction costs. So we have the ability to control the footprint. We have the ability to utilize shared walls. We have the ability to control what I call feature creep, right? Oh, and we want this, and we want this, and we want this because they're all so cool. And there might be a limit to feature creep that we can control by design. Okay, and many of those features cause regulatory costs and standards costs. Just our basic, building standards, building codes. So by doing things to eliminate feature creep and code creep, we have control over that. We also know that wall area and roof area are a big driver to the construction costs. So we can control that by design also. And then we can also control the labor construction costs by design. We know what construction methods cost more than others, and we can design with those in mind. So this controlling construction costs, we do have a 100% chance of success of controlling the construction costs. So this guess up here that it's plausible to control came out pretty good. Okay, so now on my copy of this, I've got some things that later on I can go add when we do our collaborative session. I can drop my slides into the collaborative one, and we can really build up a nice large slide deck. I'm not in favor too much of us all going in here and typing as we go. I want to have these things, if you can, prepared ahead of time so that you could, for example, copy this slide, copy the slide, and then go put it into the editable copy in an appropriate place so we can pull all this together. So that is how you might prepare your copy of the scenario modeling for the donor's land use. Okay, you're going to have a couple of hours on Tuesday morning to go through this on your own, but if you can have done some before that, that's good. And then from 10 to noon, we're just all going to get together and we're going to talk this through and go through it. It's a way to gather information about the scenarios. Okay, I'm going to see if the Design Hub can create a mathematical certainty prediction for certain successes that we might have. Can we mitigate this? How certain are we that we can mitigate this, and that we can mitigate this, and that we can make this better, mitigate these? And how certain would we be that we can ensure that these happen? Okay, and of course this is a large project to do, and we're not going to do the whole thing, but we're going to see how far we can get. And the thought process that we go through while we're doing this is a great background design driver for your project. And then you can count and point at these mitigations when you do your individual review on a continual basis of your project to see how well it's going to meet the project goals. So there we go. It's a big complex thing, but this is a big complex project, and probably one of the more complex ones that you'll do in your design tech career. Maybe not as technically difficult, but certainly as complex as any other project that we'll work on. So there we go. I hope you'll have an opportunity to look at this before we actually start doing the work in lab.